Snow piled high along the dim roadside as Daniel, a 36-year-old single dad and small-town mechanic, knelt beside a stalled luxury SUV on Christmas Eve. His hands were numb, his breath turning white, yet he kept working. His daughter was waiting at home with no gifts under the tree. When the engine roared back to life, the driver stepped out, a single mom CEO. She stared, stunned by his kindness. Stay, because this touching story begins with one act of generosity. Daniel worked long hours at a rundown garage on the edge of town, the kind of place with peeling paint, flickering neon signs, and a customer base that paid in cash or not at all. He was 36, a single dad raising his 7-year-old daughter Chloe, alone after his wife died in a car accident 3 years earlier. Christmas was approaching, but money was tight, impossibly tight. The garage barely broke even most months, and this December had been brutal. Fewer customers, unpaid invoices, mounting bills. There would be no gifts under their tiny artificial tree this year, no matter how much Chloe's hopeful eyes searched for wrapped boxes each morning. Daniel closed the shop late on Christmas Eve, exhaust-stained hands aching, back protesting every movement. The snow had started falling hours ago, blanketing everything in white silence. He was heading home when he spotted it. A black luxury SUV pulled onto the shoulder, hazard lights blinking weakly through the storm. He should have kept driving. He was exhausted, freezing, and desperately needed to get home to Chloe. But something pulled him to stop. Maybe habit, maybe conscience, maybe just the inability to leave someone stranded on Christmas Eve. Daniel parked his old pickup and approached the SUV, knocking gently on the tinted window. It rolled down slowly, revealing a woman in her mid-30s, elegant even in distress, wearing a tailored coat and expensive scarf, phone pressed to her ear with growing frustration. "I don't care what the estimated wait time is," she was saying tersely. "I need a tow truck now. My son is waiting." She noticed Daniel and paused. "Hold on. Need help?" Daniel asked, breath clouding in the freezing air. She studied him, his worn jacket, grease-stained jeans, kind eyes, and seemed to make a calculation. "My car won't start. I've been here 20 minutes. The tow company says it'll be at least 2 hours. Mind if I take a look?" Olivia Hale, CEO of Hale Innovations and one of the region's most successful tech entrepreneurs, hesitated. She was used to professionals in clean uniforms, not mechanics who appeared out of snowy darkness like ghosts. But desperation won. "Please," she said, stepping out. Daniel popped the hood, pulling a small flashlight from his pocket. Snow settled on his shoulders as he examined the engine with practiced efficiency. Olivia watched, shivering despite her expensive coat, phone clutched in one gloved hand. Inside the SUV, she could see a car seat and scattered toys, evidence of the young son she was desperate to reach. "Frozen fuel line," Daniel announced after a few minutes. "Common in this weather. Give me 10 minutes. He worked quickly, using simple tools from his truck, breathing warmth onto frozen components, speaking quietly to himself the way mechanics do. Olivia found herself mesmerized by his calm competence, so different from the frantic energy of her corporate world. "You have kid?" she asked, trying to make conversation against the howling wind. "A daughter, 7, Chloe." His voice softened when he said her name. "She's home waiting, probably watching that same Christmas movie for the 10th time. My son's 5, Ethan. He's with my mother tonight, but I promised I'd be home for hot chocolate and cookies before bed." Daniel glanced up, smiling. "Then let's get you there." 15 minutes later, the engine roared to life. Daniel closed the hood, brushing snow from his hands. Olivia reached for her purse. "What do I owe you?" "Nothing. Merry Christmas." "I can't just—" "You can," he interrupted gently. "It's Christmas Eve. Consider it a gift." She stared at him, this stranger who'd stopped in a blizzard to help someone he'd never met, refusing payment he clearly needed. In her world of contracts and negotiations, such kindness felt almost alien. "Thank you," she whispered, genuinely moved. Daniel nodded, already heading back to his truck. "Drive safe. Hug your son. Saw him." As Olivia drove away, she kept looking at him in the rearview mirror, a solitary figure walking through snow toward an old pickup, disappearing into the storm. Something about him lingered in her mind, a warmth that had nothing to do with the now-working heater. The next morning, Christmas Day, Olivia woke with an unfamiliar restlessness. Ethan Jr. played happily with his gifts, but her mind kept drifting to the mechanic in the snow. She'd built an empire on recognizing talent, on seeing potential others missed. And something told her Daniel was more than he appeared. She convinced herself she was just being polite, a proper thank you for his help. But when she drove back to the garage the day after Christmas with hot cocoa and homemade cookies, she knew it was more than gratitude. The garage was open despite the holiday week. Daniel was under a car, legs visible, radio playing classic rock softly in the background. "Hello?" Olivia called. He rolled out, face streaked with grease, surprise flickering when he recognized her. "You came back," he said, standing and wiping his hands on a rag. "I wanted to say thank you properly." She held up the thermos and cookies. "And my son insisted on meeting the nice car doctor." Ethan Jr. peeked from behind his mother's legs, eyes wide with curiosity. Daniel smiled, genuine and warm. "Well, come on in. My daughter's in the office doing homework. She'd love the company." Inside the cramped office, Chloe sat at a desk covered with coloring books and math worksheets. She looked up as they entered, face brightening. "Dad, visitors!" "Ma, you do." Within minutes, Chloe and Ethan were drawing together on the floor, instant friendship forming the way it only does with children. Olivia watched, heart aching with something she couldn't quite name. "Your daughter's wonderful," she said quietly to Daniel as they sipped cocoa. "She's my whole world." He glanced at Chloe, love radiating from every line of his tired face. "Lost her mom 3 years back. Car accident. Been just us since." "I'm sorry." "Or what about you? Ethan's father?" "Left when Ethan was 6 months old. Couldn't handle the lifestyle disruption of fatherhood." Olivia's voice carried bitter edges. "So I understand. Single parenting is impossible and worth it all at once," Daniel finished. She smiled. "Exactly." As the afternoon unfolded, Olivia observed Daniel working, the patience he showed explaining repairs to customers, the genuine care he took with each vehicle, the way he solved mechanical problems with intuitive brilliance. He worked like an engineer, not just a garage mechanic. "Where did you learn all this?" she asked, watching him diagnose an electrical issue in minutes. "Self-taught, mostly. Read manuals, watched videos, took things apart until I understood them." He shrugged. "Couldn't afford college, had to work. But I've always loved figuring out how things work." "You have a gift," Olivia said seriously. "Real problem-solving instinct. That's rare." Daniel looked uncomfortable with the praise. "Just doing my job." Outside, Chloe and Ethan built a snowman, laughter carrying through the cold air. Olivia helped Chloe tie a scarf around the snowman's neck, while Daniel showed Ethan how to pack snow properly. Small moments grew connection. Daniel tightening Chloe's coat with automatic fatherly precision. Olivia braiding Chloe's hair when it came loose. Their kids laughing together, making snow angels, creating the kind of pure joy adults forget exists. "You know what I noticed?" Olivia said as they stood watching the children play. "What?" "You're exhausted, but you never stop smiling when you look at her." Daniel's eyes glistened. "She's all I've got. If I stop smiling, what does she have?" Olivia felt tears prick her own eyes. She understood that pressure, the weight of being everything for a child who'd already lost so much. "I feel like I'm failing him sometimes," she admitted quietly. "I'm never home, always working, missing bedtimes and school plays, building an empire but losing moments I can't get back." "You're here now," Daniel said gently. "That counts." Before she left, Olivia turned to him, snow beginning to fall again. "People like you make Christmas matter, not the gifts or the decorations, the kindness, the showing up. That's what the season's actually about." Daniel smiled, something hopeful flickering in his tired eyes. "Thank you for coming back, for seeing us." "Thank you," she replied, "for reminding me what actually matters. Keep watching, because when disaster strikes, everything is about to change." 3 days later, Olivia's company faced a crisis. A critical supplier failed on New Year's week, collapsing the supply chain for their flagship product launch. Manufacturing halted. Hundreds of jobs hung in the balance. The board convened emergency meetings, voices rising in panic and blame. "We need solutions, not excuses," Olivia said tersely, pacing her office while executives presented increasingly complex proposals, none of which would work in time. Every suggestion involved weeks of redesign, astronomical costs, or regulatory nightmares. The clock ticked toward disaster. That night, alone in her office at 2 a.m., Olivia stared at technical diagrams, mind spinning. Then unexpectedly, she thought of Daniel. The way he diagnosed her car so quickly, finding simple solutions to complex problems. It was crazy, asking a small-town mechanic to solve a corporate manufacturing crisis. The board would revolt, but desperation made people brave. At 8 a.m., she drove to the garage. Daniel was opening up, Chloe helping him unlock the bay doors. Olivia, surprise and pleasure crossed his face. Everything okay? I need your help, she said. And I know this sounds insane, but I'm desperate. She explained the crisis: mechanical failure in the assembly line, production halted, engineers baffled. Daniel listened intently, asking clarifying questions that revealed his sharp mind. Can I see the schematics? He asked. She pulled them up on her tablet. Daniel studied them for 20 minutes, occasionally zooming in, muttering to himself. Chloe colored quietly nearby, used to her father's deep concentration. Finally, Daniel looked up. This is a pressure regulation issue. Your engineers are overthinking it. You don't need a redesign. You need a simple bypass valve here and a pressure release mechanism here. He pointed. Temporary fix until you can source new suppliers. But it'll work. Olivia stared. That's simple? Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. We just overcomplicate things. She brought him to headquarters that afternoon, Daniel in his cleanest jeans and work shirt, completely out of place among executives in designer suits. The board was skeptical, then openly hostile. A mechanic? One scoffed. This is a multi-million-dollar manufacturing line, not a car engine. The principles are the same, Daniel said quietly. Pressure, flow, mechanical stress. I'm just suggesting. We don't need suggestions from someone without credentials. Olivia's voice cut through the room like ice. This man solved a problem in 20 minutes that our entire engineering team couldn't crack in 3 days. I suggest we listen. The argument escalated. Some executives supported trying Daniel's solution. It was cheap and quick to implement. Others refused to risk the company's reputation on garage mechanic advice. Finally, Olivia made an executive decision. Implement the fix on one production line as a test. It worked, flawlessly. Within hours, production resumed. The crisis was averted. Daniel's simple, elegant solution had saved hundreds of jobs and millions in revenue. The board was stunned into silence. But Daniel overheard conversations in the hallway, executives mocking him, calling it dumb luck, saying a grease monkey got lucky guessing, diminishing his contribution to protect their own egos. He found Olivia in her office. I should go. I don't belong here. What? Daniel, you just saved. I know what I did, but I also know I don't fit in this world. I'm a mechanic. That's all I'll ever be to these people. Olivia stood, crossing to him, eyes blazing. You gave my company hope when everyone else gave up. You saw solutions where trained engineers saw only problems. Don't let their insecurity make you small. I'm not ashamed of who I am. I know, that's why I'm asking you to stay. She took a breath. Let me give you a future, a real one. Training, education, a position where your talents are actually recognized. Daniel stared at her, hope and fear warring in his eyes. That evening, Daniel sat with Chloe in their small apartment, explaining the offer. Engineering assistant position, training program, real salary, benefits, everything he'd never dared hope for. But it means change, sweetheart, he said quietly. Different hours, learning new things. I'd be starting over in some ways. Chloe looked at him with her mother's eyes, wise beyond her years. She tugged his sleeve. Daddy, she believes in you. I believe in you. Don't you believe in you? Daniel's tears fell silently. From the mouth of his 7-year-old daughter came the permission he needed to take the leap. Okay, he whispered, hugging her tight. Okay. He accepted Olivia's offer. The transition was harder than he expected, learning corporate systems, navigating office politics, feeling imposter syndrome every day. But Olivia mentored him patiently, seeing past his lack of formal education to the brilliant problem solver beneath. Montage of transformation. Daniel in clean work clothes at headquarters, still uncomfortable but trying. Olivia guiding him through technical documents, explaining patiently. His confidence growing as his ideas were implemented and praised. Chloe and Ethan playing together after school in the company daycare Olivia had quietly arranged access to. Small moments of friendship deepening into something more. Shared lunches, late-night problem-solving sessions. Laughter that came easier each day. Daniel never forgot where he came from. He kept his garage open on weekends, helping neighbors who couldn't afford dealership prices. But now he had stability, hope, a future he could actually plan for. New Year's Eve arrived. The company threw a celebration for averting the crisis. Daniel stood awkwardly in the corner, still not quite comfortable at corporate events. Olivia found him on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. "Hiding?" she asked with a smile. "Breathing," he corrected. "Still not used to crowds like this." She stood beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "You know what I realized?" "What?" "You didn't just save Christmas for the company. You saved it for me and Ethan too." Her voice was soft, vulnerable. "I was so lost in work, in proving myself, in keeping everything perfect that I'd forgotten how to actually be present. You reminded me. That night in the snow, you showed me what kindness looks like, what being there for people means." Daniel turned to face her. "You gave me a chance when no one else would have. You saw something in me I'd stopped seeing in myself. I saw who you actually are, not who the world told you you had to be." They stood in comfortable silence, watching fireworks begin across the city, bursts of color against dark sky, celebrating new beginnings. "What happens now?" Daniel asked quietly. Olivia smiled. "Whatever we want. That's the beautiful part about second chances. We get to write the next chapter ourselves." Inside, Chloe and Ethan pressed against the window, watching fireworks and giggling. Two kids who'd found friendship. Two single parents who'd found hope. Two broken families becoming something new together. Not perfect, but real and warm and full of possibility. Daniel smiled softly, hope finally returning to his eyes. The kind of hope that comes from believing tomorrow might actually be better than yesterday. "Happy New Year," Olivia whispered. "Happy New Year," he replied. And for the first time in 3 years, he meant it. The final scene showed them months later, Daniel presenting a solution in a board meeting, confident now, respected. Olivia watching with pride. Chloe and Ethan building blanket forts in the office during late nights. Two families knitting together through shared meals, homework help, and weekend adventures. Not a fairy tale, just real people choosing kindness, taking chances, and building something beautiful from broken pieces. Love that started with one act of generosity on a snowy roadside and grew into a future neither had dared imagine. Subscribe to Sue's Stories for more touching, cinematic stories of hope, love, and second chances.